Ideas Inc. is a think tank based in Washington, D.C. They recently traveled to Ivory Coast, where they spoke with President Laurent Gbagbo, several of his ministers, opposition leaders, and other Ivorians about the state of things in their country. Ivory Coast, West Africa, also known as Côte d'Ivoire, gained its independence from France in 1960, and for decades has been the driving economic force of West Africa. Facing the Gulf of Guinea, the Ivorian miracle has been that region's model of prosperity and stability under the former leadership of President Félix Houphouët-Boigny, who ruled the country for 33 years. Abidjan, the economic capital, surrounded by lagoons and palm trees, is what would appear to be a thriving city boasting an impressive skyline. Yet in the past years, it has become a stronghold for the struggle towards democracy. After the death of President Boigny in 1993, Ivory Coast began to unravel. December 24, 1999, the country was stunned by a coup d'etat, the first in its history. Boigny's successor, Henri Konan Bédié, was overthrown by the former army chief, General Guéhi. General Guéhi's coup brought an end to the long reign of the PDCI, the former ruling party that had brought independence to the country. It also opened the gate to successive upheavals. Alassane Ouattara, the presidential candidate for the RDR, was rejected by the Supreme Court in October 2000 based on a clause in the Constitution. That Constitution was voted by 86% of Ivorians. The clause stipulates that the candidate to the position of President of the Republic of Ivory Coast must be born of a father and a mother who have Ivorian citizenship and should not have at any time switched nationality. Alassane Ouattara, who was Prime Minister of Ivory Coast from 1990 to 1993, has occupied high positions as a Burkina Faso citizen in international financial institutions. Democratic elections were held in October 2000, and Laurent Gbagbo, the leading figure of the opposition, defeated General Guéhi. Guéhi refused to respect the results of the elections. Appealing to the country, Laurent Gbagbo gathered the support of millions who took to the streets, forcing General Guéhi to relinquish power. The country was in a chaotic economic situation. International donors had suspended their cooperation with the country due to the bad governance of the Bédié regime and the 1999 coup. President Gbagbo produced a promising agenda and began undertaking far-reaching reforms, including decentralization and universal health coverage. His effective management of the war economy forced the international financial institutions to re-establish cooperation with Ivory Coast. September 19, 2002, rebels that came from and were trained in Burkina Faso attempted a coup d'etat against President Gbagbo, who was on an official trip in Europe, holding back the promising plan.
We have yet to find out. The rebels came physically, they came from Burkina Faso and Liberia. We do not yet have all the information. With regard to the countries, whether they are African or European, that do not have borders with us, we still have to find out what happened.
Hundreds of people died, and the loyal armed forces resisted in Abidjan and in the south of the country. The rebels were pushed back to Bouaké and took civilians as hostages. A few months later, another battlefield was opened in the western part of the country. Other rebels, supported by the former president of Liberia, Charles Taylor, also attacked the country. So started a civil war in Ivory Coast.
This is a country that's had great turmoil over the last 2 years, certainly since December of 1999 when the coup. Very traumatic for them because they have not had anything similar for decades, and they've been pretty much the model of democracy and thriving for years.
Our infrastructure, telecommunication, the roads, the airports, the harbor, Our infrastructure are the best of what can be found in the sub-region.
They are a country now that wants to come out of this well, wants to survive, to improve their quality of life. No doubt about it, there's a great deal of poverty. They have a number of refugees, but also no doubt about it, they recognize that problem, and there's some great pockets of improvement here, and there's ways that they can improve their quality of life. Yesterday we drove to Bassam, which is the old ancient capital, and decided to go to City Hall and check in before we went interviewing and filming people, and we happened into 2 weddings, and which were very interesting and colorful and spectacular, and the second of which, the entire wedding party literally invites us out to their house for the reception.
Hi, good. Thank you.
We were total strangers and just curious, want to take pictures, and they just literally wrapped their arms around us and took us out to their place and served us champagne and cake. That is not the picture that I had in my mind of your typical Ivorian. I don't know what my typical Ivorian was, but it wasn't that, and I was very, very pleasantly surprised and delighted, frankly. Our first brief here was with the Deputy Finance Minister. I did not expect somebody Harvard-educated, MBA from Hartford University, a certified CPA, clearly fluent in English and French and several languages. He came back here to serve in the government and make it a better place. And that attitude exists here. So when you have people of that level of quality trying to make a difference in the government, that's a good story and it needs to be told.
Over the last 3 days, I've met Patrice Lumumba's son.
We can't accept to be as child that Western country come to give us a solution, to give us what to eat, what to drink. We have to get a solution by ourselves. So there is a solution if politics decide to get a solution.
I have talked with an Ivorian businessman who is trying to make his mark in the pipeline business.
Voilà, j'en ai 28. J'en ai 28. Et puis, maintenant, j'ai embauché des cadres européens, des professionnels, et des cadres africains aussi. Et j'ai des chefs de chantier, il y a des foremen, voilà, tout ça. Et maintenant, on répond maintenant au gros marché.
You know, he's very cautious. We begin to talk to him, he warms up. Then he wants to show us his factory. Then he takes us to lunch, kind of a wonderful transition from somebody who I think was initially a little concerned and worried to one who really embraced us.
Absolutely.
But you yourself, since you come here, how do you feel? Are you cool with Ivorians?
We feel very cool. We feel very comfortable.
Feel very cool?
Very comfortable.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've got one request before maybe you go on asking questions. By the time you return to your country, you've got to sensitize people, to inform them about what you've seen in Ivory Coast and to tell them the truth. We need that by the time I'm speaking. In Ivory Coast, this is, the will of all the Ivorians. Mm-hmm. We want people to help us to make the truth come up, so that people, all the worldwide people should be aware of what is the truth in Ivory Coast.
Ivory Coast has one of the highest populations of foreigners in the world. 60% of the foreigners in Ivory Coast are Burkina Faso citizens working mainly in agriculture. Most Ivorians believe the current political crisis in Ivory Coast was orchestrated by the president of Burkina Faso, Blaise Compaoré, whose hegemonic intentions in the sub-region are publicly known. This has negatively impacted the relationship and the economy of Ivory Coast and Burkina Faso. Some believe France backed and strategically helped the rebellion. The potential loss of exclusive contracts, coupled by the finding of oil, under an administration that favors competition, could be seen as a motive for the French to destabilize Ivory Coast. France and the regime of President Gbagbo have a strained relationship fueled by many economic factors.
Big quantity of oil has been discovered in offshore oil in Côte d'Ivoire, and the war started 2 months after those discovery. So there must be some links. I do not know, but I think it is.
The French control the energy.
Ensuite, la France contrôle le téléphone.
Telephone.
Dans le secteur industriel, ils sont très présents.
They are in industries that are very present.
We never heard somebody supporting this rebellion say exactly why they go to this rebellion. They want power, they try to take power using their arms. It's a kind of fancy now in Africa. We knew in the past a period of military coup in Africa during the 60s. And in the 90s, we experienced democracy process. And now people want to go back to military coup to control power because maybe they are not comfortable with the process of democratic competition.
Do you think it's time for the French forces to leave?
You want my opinion?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you think they supported the rebels?
My conviction is yes. Definitely yes. And we have a proof of what we are saying. I have a proof. So that's why they want to put the men out of the power. They want to have a man they can control.
They don't want a president that is fighting for his people, but they want a president protecting the French interests.
Each of us needs to adjust to this new environment where we have now competition for everything.
Many in Ivory Coast think that the rebellion is the armed branch of the RDR political party. An official of the RDR, now serving in the government of reconciliation, disclaims this link.
Was at any time that the RDR was involved in either in conceptualizing this plan or making it happen at any level, the RDR has not been involved with this rebellion.
Those who take guns means they have no ideas. They have no projects for the society. If you are confident and you believe in what you are doing, you don't take guns. You discuss, you propose, you convince people so that they can vote for you. This is what I learned in school. I've never learned that to come on power you have to use guns, keep people in the end. But they are one chance. They are the support of the French government, but they are also the support of the French media. And me and my group, people that are organizing marches, meetings without guns, were presented to the world like those who want war. And then those who had guns, killing people, were presented to the world like those who were kind, well organized, working for democracy. And this is the image that people had today.
A strong campaign conducted by international media, mostly French, describes Ivorians as xenophobic.
Et dans la presse, surtout dans la presse, un grand journal comme Le Monde.
In the press, particularly in a large newspaper like Le Monde, the image that they had of Ivory Coast was that of a xenophobic, anti-foreigner country, a country divided between a Muslim north and a Christian south, and a country where they did not want a Muslim to be president.
See, when you come here, see the way we try to be very cool with you. We have never met before, but we are very proud and we are very happy to exchange ideas with people we've never seen. This is Ivory Coast. This is the truth in Ivory Coast. We like strangers.
For President Gbagbo, the main reason of conflicts in Africa is clear.
Le premier problème, c'est que les citoyens doivent apprendre à respecter.
The first thing that is very important is to respect the law. Each Ivorian must understand that he or she needs to respect the law. Because if there is no law, then it becomes very difficult to govern. In the United States, what makes the cohesion of the country is the respect of the law, and that's what happens in each developed country, and we must reach that stage.
Is that the Ivory Coast will never look at France the same way again. I mean, you must be totally disillusioned.
Il faut dire que les Ivoiriens.
The Ivorians were a bit surprised, taken aback by the reaction of France, because France has a lot of interest in Côte d'Ivoire, and we have a lot of even passion for France. Initially we liked France, and we didn't understand what happened at all, and we are disappointed.
January 24th, 2003. Main political parties and different groups of rebels signed the Marcoussis Agreement at Marcoussis in France, after unsuccessful attempts in Togo, Ghana, and Senegal. The Marcoussis Agreement emphasizes the necessity to preserve the territorial integrity of Ivory Coast, the respect of its institutions, and the restoration of the authority of state power. It recommends the establishment of a government of reconciliation headed by a prime minister of consensus until elections in 2005. Seydou Diarra, former president of the Reconciliation Forum, was appointed prime minister. According to the agreement, the government should implement reforms that modify the constitution so that any exclusively Ivorian citizen born of an Ivorian mother or father shall be eligible to run for president of Ivory Coast. Reform the army after the disarmament of both the loyalist and the rebels' forces. Reform property rights for non-Ivorians to own land. Although meant to put an end to the political crisis, the agreement further aroused discontent in the southern part of Ivory Coast. This discontent was further exacerbated by Soro Guillaume, Secretary General of the rebel movement MPCI, when he announced on French media that the rebels were given the portfolios of defense and security in a government that was not yet formed.
I know that one night after the agreement of Marcoussis, asking or giving the sensitive ministries like the Minister of Defense and Security to the rebels. I've never seen that. How can you ask me to give him the key of my house to that one who won't kill me? I can't believe.
One thing remains certain. Ivorians were surprised by the rebellion and do not want war. However, President Gbagbo, steeled by the unconstitutional grab for power of the rebels, is prepared to defend the Constitution and the interests of the Ivorian people. In an atmosphere of suspicion and resentment, a question looms large. Is reconciliation possible?
You have many rivers to cross to go to the peace. We have many rivers to cross. Today we just vote the law of amnesty. It's not sure that the road of the peace is straight. I think that each step will be a very serious fighting, but not military fighting. It will be civilian, political, parliamentarian fighting to know who vote and who refuse. And I think that after all of that, the peace will come back.
Fighting for power in Africa is fighting for yourself, for your own interest. And this is the biggest issues we have got. Everybody wants to get involved in politics. Why? Because it is the speediest way to get up, to emerge,
Maintenant, il y a une situation très cocasse ici. Moi, j'ai gagné les élections.
So we have a very strange situation here because some people did not respect the law, so they picked up arms. And in the strange situation is that they did not win the war, and I didn't win the war either. So to try to conquer the power by the bullet is not a good thing. It's better to conquer the power by the ballot. I was, for example, in the opposition for about 30 years. So for about 30 years, I did not pick up arms. I waited for my turn. I waited until I obtained a majority to come to power.
Right now, the rebel cells, they want a reconciliation. They want peace. But who doesn't want peace? I want peace. I can't be against someone who wants peace. So I agree that my country needs reconciliation. The point is, I don't believe in what they are saying. Do they really want peace? This is the question. If really they want peace, there's no problem. We go for peace.
We need a kind of adjustment. We all need a kind of adjustment, even France.
Pretty much the inference you get from everybody you talk to is, we're not interested in war. We're not interested in strife. What we're interested in doing is improving our lot in life, improving the economy, and getting on with it. That was an unfortunate incident that happened with the coup and the rebellion. We're working our way through that. There is security here. You are safe here. And that they want people to come invest and recognize their country for what it is. That they have natural resources that we in the United States would be interested in, not the least of which are cocoa, palm oil, oil and petroleum products also.
I am confident that if we can do the disarmament, we will be able to turn things around. I think we have the energy, I think we have the will, and I think we have the brain to do it.
We have now many people educated in different countries with a very open mind to world. We have this development of communication technologies and so on. I strongly believe these potential economic resources are very, very important for the future of this country.
Des murs qui parlent dans les salles,
like the walls that talk to you,
avec des photos.
Through their photographs.
Je voulais mettre quelques pionniers ici.
I wanted to show a few pioneers here.
Parce que tout à l'heure je vous disais que la mémoire c'est très important.
I was telling you earlier that history is very important, memory is important.
Je vais mettre les femmes, les premières femmes pilotes.
I will show the first women pilots.
Dans les années 60.
In the 60s.
Et quand vous demandez aujourd'hui aux femmes ivoiriennes qui ont 45 ans, 50 ans, et vous leur dites, vous leur demandez, est-ce que vous voyez votre fille devenir pilote? Et vous savez ce qu'elles répondent aujourd'hui? Nous ne sommes pas encore arrivés là.
We haven't reached that stage yet.
Et moi je leur dis, nous on a déjà dépassé ça.
I'm saying to them, we have already surpassed that stage.
C'est une question de génération.
It's a question of generation.
Nous on les a vus quand on avait 14 ans.
We saw them when we were 14.
Mais la mémoire est coupée.
But people have a short memory.
Voilà une des fonctions de la culture.
This is one of the goals of one of the functions of culture.
amuser,
to entertain, yet
témoigner,
to witness, to bear witness,
mais faire se souvenir.
but also to bring back the
Sinon, une nation qui ne se souvient pas tourne en rond.
A nation that doesn't remember goes in circles.
Et nous qui avons 55 ans aujourd'hui,
We who are 55-year-old today,
nous connaissons une autre Côte d'Ivoire
we know another Côte d'Ivoire
que celle que connaissent la nouvelle génération.
than the one that the new generation knows.
C'est l'exemple de cet avion
And that's the example
et
of
ce que je viens de vous dire à l'intérieur. Il faut de la mémoire.
It's all about memory.
Very good. Voila.
The answer is not only can not only be given by the politicians, but by everybody. Let's be conscious that, and we cannot develop this continent if we do not make some sacrifice ourselves, and we do not try to adopt and adapt what other nations have succeeded to do.
The rebels are still holding the sparsely populated and impoverished north, and the loyalists, the densely populated and richer south, separated by French forces. Despite the war, which ceased with the intervention of the French army, and the volatile atmosphere, Ivory Coast is still a country of hope. It remains first in cocoa production in the world, possesses crude oil, a rich and bountiful soil, and other raw materials. The people of Ivory Coast and the international community hope that Côte d'Ivoire again plays its role as a driving force in West Africa.